All right, guys. So basically what's going on right now is that Wakanda Forever has this growing controversy with the fact that they decided not to recast Chadwick Boseman.
They decided
as
to
Black Panther.
girl boss Black Panther because it's a mantle, right?
That's what was always going to happen. And there's the thing about this is there's a couple of reasons for this. On one hand, it has to do with Chadwick Boseman and his legacy. On the other hand, it has to do with whether they should be recasting any type of mantle at all. On 3, does it have to do with it's a woman. On 4, it doesn't matter if it's a woman because it's the wrong woman because a lot of these people don't like Letitia Wright.
Can you start at the beginning? So Chadwick Boseman was in
the original Black Panther. He's also
he died of cancer.
Yes,
and they want to recast him, or they don't.
They don't want to recast him. They just want
to.
Letitia Wright to be the Black Panther identity.
We don't know that. We don't know if that's confirmed. They could, for all we know, that could be
very safe.
And
guess.
she was already in the franchise.
Yes, she plays his sister in the movie. So it says Black.
And are they gonna write in tragically
his
original
death,
Black Panther died?
Yep.
They're not going to say. Well, I don't know how they will handle why, but it's becoming weirdly controversial. So my question to you is do you find this okay? My problem with it is that they've been changing mantles, race swapping, gender swapping, and every swapping all characters. I'm actually kind of excited about the fact that they chose not to recast him. But then I thought about it and thought, from what his brother said, now we can't, we don't know if his brother knows Chadwick Boseman well enough to know this for sure, but said that he would want the role to carry on because of the cultural significance that the character of Black Panther has for young men in the Black community.
Yeah,
right. So they would want that character to go on. The names they float here are John Boyega and John David Washington, which is Denzel Washington's.
Those people aren't already in the franchise.
No.
So they'd have to introduce them as new people who took over, as opposed to being within the family his sister became.
Yes.
Who will just seamlessly play T'Challa.
And there is
explanation.
There is crappy modern comic book relevance to the idea that she did take over in a couple of runs of the comics while he was recovering from injuries. I do remember that. So, but the other problem here is that
there's always a loophole that they'll come up with, but people are dissatisfied, I think, mostly because of what they think the movie means and not what the story meant to them and why they think it doesn't make sense with the story. And that's annoying.
So what do you guys think they should do?
I thought they should have recasted him.
And kept the character even though it's a different actor.
Yeah.
And you thought...
I think recast somebody in his place if it's important for that character to be a man.
Thank you, guys.
But not someone as T'Challa.
Yeah, have a male Black Panther, but it's a new character.
Yes.
Okay.
I think they could have.
And you would have it be the same character.
They can do multiverse in the multiverse. If there was one franchise where it would actually work, you could do the multiverse here.
Well, we've talked about where a mantle is suitable for a certain franchise. Do you think that, given that you're not invested in Black Panther as a franchise, regardless, do you feel like a mantle is appropriate for it?
The Black Panther is a mantle in that community. It's not a person. It's
who came before T'Challa?
His I don't remember if it was his dad that played him before that. In the comics, I don't know, but I just know that they talk in the movie context. They talk about in Civil War that the Black Panther was created to protect the community, the country of Wakanda from outside forces. So it actually is in that context a mantle. I'm not going to pretend to be a super nerd.
The comics have been going for decades, if I'm correct in that, and I don't think there's ever been a female Black Panther before.
No, Shuri
Has
played.
there been?
Shuri took over for him while he was injured for 5
but that doesn't mean she fully
no.
took over the mantle.
No, I don't know in the comics. Like I said, I'm not. Maybe Caper 2X can let us know. I'm not super familiar with that source material. I just know that in the movies they phrase it as a mantle in Captain America: Civil War. I do want to point out that it is weird that in a culture that is with Marvel being so anti-male and being all too happy to recast other male characters, that now there's pushback with people saying, why wouldn't you keep the male character in this role? It feels like Ironheart is in that trailer, and Ironheart is just a ripoff of Tony Stark, Iron Man. She gets the armor from him and becomes Ironheart rather than Iron Man, which is not the same thing, but it's the same
lady as an ode to Margaret Thatcher.
Yeah. So it's weird how they've now become very, very pro-male, because they talk about in one of the articles, they talk about basically that he was something that young Black men could see themselves in.
Yeah, I saw one of the comments on this change.org petition to recast T'Challa said, "I'm signing because this is generational inspiration for Black children and adults." And I want to question that because it doesn't show an investment in that character, T'Challa. It shows that you're assigning some kind of social impact to the movie. And I think what kids see is a superhero movie and a bunch of adults arguing about it. They don't assign the same importance that adults
are absolutely assigning way more meaning. But that's Hollywood does that with everything now. Everything is some type of bigger, more grandiose idea. It's not just a movie. It's not just a gay rom-com. It's a movie that is important for all of.
Yeah. I wonder if in some ways, if it is true that like, ultimately communities that support this movie that are big fans of it want there to be like Black male superheroes for young Black men. I guess I'm a little bit lost on this, but like, wouldn't it be meaningful to have a new character take over Black Panther as a male, like to what you were saying, because then you're still seeing another Black man. In fact, in some ways the message then becomes like, not just this one Black man, but all Black men can rise to this heroism or whatever it is. You know what I mean?
It's looking like they're running into a conflict of interest in this hierarchy of
what's a
social agenda.
Because we get into the sexism of it.
Because there is a question of like, but doesn't this say that to young Black women that they can be Black Panther or whatever? I also feel like hopefully your kids' role models aren't only from superhero movies. Like hopefully they have lots of role models and lots of different mediums.
Are they only going to have Black Panther and the Little Mermaid and like the reimagined Red Riding Hood?
All the other, unfortunately. So it says, Shuri spent much of her time in the shadows of men, according to Marvel. However, after working to stop the invasion of Wakanda
crazy long shadows
and helping her brother recover after Dr. Doom nearly killed him, Shuri stepped into the spotlight and became Black Panther herself for a limited run. In the comics, T'Challa even lets Shuri remain the Black Panther until he recovers from his injuries. But this precedence does not seem to be enough for fans who lamented the loss of T'Challa and suggested a number of actors to replace Boseman, including John Boyega and John David Washington. John David Washington was in Tenet. John Boyega was obviously in Star Wars. The movie has zero appeal for me. Erasing the main character from his own franchise is one of the most egregious things you can do. Profiting off of the death of a real-life person is even worse. That person is right because they advertised the movie on his social media, which was one of the most ghoulish things ever. But
they're justifying it with the fact that he signed for another movie before he died. And like, that doesn't show that he would be comfortable with someone taking over that character. And it doesn't show he would be comfortable with a woman taking over the mantle that he had.
It's also really funny. In like one of the articles I read, they said they're making the character more diverse, which really proves that diverse just means
Wakanda is not a diverse nation.
But I'm saying by diverse they mean not men.
Yeah, exactly.
So they say Twitter user Digital Slop was one of the many to argue that the backlash was rooted in sexism. The hashtag Recast T'Challa discourse is rooted in misogynoir. You don't get to hear that one every day, folks.
That is a fun word.
I know.
I love that. I just think I want to start inventing language.
So
you know
it says,
what I mean?
The Recast T'Challa discourse is rooted in misogynoir. Shuri is the Black Panther, and this is where you lose everyone. I'm not. In fact,
is misogynoir the same part there? It's like Black men refuse to date Black women.
Yes.
Is that also
I want to finish this statement though because she actually gets in here and she would be right at home in the She-Hulk discourse. So I'm gonna read this from the start again. So it says the hashtag Recast T'Challa discourse is rooted in misogynoir. Shuri is the Black Panther and T'Challa is dead. Argue with ya mammy. She wrote. They wrote. Whoever the hell they are.
It just is like
it's
a
so
lot of people
snarky.
Taking this movie very personally and seriously when it's a freaking Marvel franchise.
I think Hollywood did a disservice by making this personal, by making it about like the American Black identity as it is perceived by superhero land. You know what I mean? Like they sold this as like a, you know, we see it all the time with a lot of different productions, but they're like, it's an all Black nation with a like Black superhero and this, that, and the other. And it's important. It's a big deal. It's revolutionary. And like, no wonder that people are like crazily emotionally attached to the nuanced details of this, that like there is no Sorry, there's no way for anyone to win here, right?
Sorry, there was no reason for that movie to be nominated for Best Picture of the Year other than
you don't understand.
politics.
It's breaking boundaries.
Yes.
It made a ton of money, to be fair. What was it, like $1.6 billion?
How much more than
even I don't go as far as to say that means
Can
you
I
get,
swap
that you
one
get a
Fast and
best
the Furious?
You're
picture.
always, but you are like the champion of it.
Money.
If it makes money.
Yes, but that doesn't mean it's
then-
a Best Picture nominee. Those are different.
Sure.
Methods of ranking something altogether. I want to point out also that this only has like 68,000 signatures, which is
And it's
not
I
that
looked
many.
at like on change.org, it shows you how frequently it gets a new signature, and it's like every 4 hours they get another one.
And and the other thing here is I think that a lot of it has less to do with him and more to do with the fact that they don't like Letitia Wright. She fell
why
on the.
is that?
Was she the non-vax one?
She's the one who's religious and made claims that she's like, hey, maybe we should wait and find out whether this is actually healthy to take this vaccine, which immediately got her labeled as anti-vax.
This is like
Crazy.
basically fake news, but they claim that she halted filming for the second Black Panther film simply because of her refusal to take the vaccine,
Which is
not true.
See, I could be totally wrong. I remember that coverage being sort of like someone, we won't say who, got COVID, so we all had to shut down. Which is like,
they halted filming because she was injured in her knee.
She got hurt on set.
yeah.
That has nothing to do with
Maybe if she had gotten the vax, she wouldn't have-
insubordination.
maybe if she had gotten the vax, she wouldn't have hurt her knee.
She's like, and the funny thing is, I remember now she's kind of been labeled like any movie she's in that like that stuff would come up. I remember when we were doing, when we were looking into Death on the Nile, they list like the movie with Gal Gadot and with so and so and so and so, and they're like, and Cannibal Army Hammer and anti-vaxxer Letitia Wright. I'm like, what?
No, but it's
They're
like
trying to Don't Worry, Darling,
I can-
Death on the Nile.
I can tell you
guess.
exactly what it is. It's reporters who get like they have to write a certain number of stories a day. I'm one of them, and they are like, okay, this movie's coming out. I'll Google all the actors and see like who does what. Oh, look at this girl. She's gotten so many headlines. I will include it in my piece to make the minimum length. Like it actually has nothing to do with anything except it's sort of tangentially related. And so we get this, these tiny nuggets of information, which, as you guys have talked about with the Armie Hammer story, get whittled down to just like the buzzword phrase: anti-vax, this girl, cannibal guy, Armie Hammer. Like,
Yeah.
it becomes devoid of meaning. And in fact, if you asked the person who wrote the article, they would be like, well, it's just something about her, but like I guess it has nothing to do with this actual movie that's being produced when COVID regulations have been repealed. Like, it's just there to make the article the right length, and yet it then impacts her career and I assume how she moves through Hollywood. It's crazy. I'm part of the problem, I swear.
I will say that if there was a franchise that they have that makes sense to go the female route, it actually is Black Panther with the Dora Milaje, the all female guard being a huge part of it. The female aspect of that film was very, very significant. So if there was one of these movies where it made sense, this does make sense.
Yeah, it's just different factions of wokeness running into each other
they're
and butting
battling.
heads.
It's literal intersectionalism. They're like hitting each other at the intersection.
They're intersecting, and it's not going so harmoniously as they would hope. But
because they haven't established their hierarchy.
Yeah.
As soon as they fight each other to the death, they'll know these are the categories that outrank other things.
The movie should have been two people battling to see who would take over the mantle.
Well, that might be what ends up happening.
I don't want to downplay the fact that the mantle, aside from a few exceptions from the comics, has generally been men. And I think that should be something they stick to. And not just because a random tragic event happened to Chadwick Boseman, but simply because it's important to the character.
This is a weird situation where I'm actually kind of okay with all of the outcomes. Like,
let them.
I'm kind of okay with Shuri doing it because she's not horror. Like, she was annoying in Black Panther, but like she's fine. I would have liked it if they did let M'Baku, because Winston Duke plays M'Baku. He's a great actor. I would like them to have him play the role. I would have been okay with them bringing back Michael B. Jordan as Killmonger and find a way to have him take the role. I'm not really against any of the options here, so I kind of get to win either way. I mean, it could be worse. It'd be really funny if they made like...
But they feel the same, or they should feel the same way.
But
if
I
you're
think they
talking
do.
about who should take over the mantle of Black Panther, but the movie itself wasn't important to you. It's only the social impact you believe the movie had on society.
I mean, I think that like ultimately the fans, the majority of the fans do feel like, whatever you guys decide, like it'll work out. That's why it's getting, like you said, a signature every 4 hours or whatever. Like people aren't running to this change.com signature to be like, I must voice my opinion and have influence.
Yeah, and they think that recasting T'Challa is a way to honor Chadwick Boseman after his death.
Who does?
I feel like it's like
I watched the video of the guy who started the change.org petition.
They think, yes.
And he's a huge fan of Chadwick Boseman. He was even talking about his, like, how he's, at least in his, I don't know Chadwick Boseman, or never knew him, never knew his personal life, obviously. But, like, he showed these pictures of him, like, granting Make-A-Wish things. And, like, just said that he is such a great guy, and he's a legend to this franchise and the MCU in general.
I do believe he
and
would have
that
played that
honoring
role forever.
him would mean recasting his character, and he would have wanted this, and we're honoring what his deathbed wishes are by recasting T'Challa. And I just think like it's really not that serious. Maybe I'm just saying that like I'm biased because I'm not invested in the Black Panther franchise, but like I really don't see how it matters.
You could make the opposite argument, which is like it's like when an athlete dies on a team and you retire their jersey number and there's a ceremony and it goes, I don't know where it goes, but we could retire this character with Chadwick Boseman, because otherwise what I think they're opening the door for is there's no way to have the next movie come out and critics review the movie. What's the character's name that Chadwick Boseman played?
T'Challa.
The next guy who plays T'Challa will always get compared to Chadwick Boseman, and out of respect to his death, or like kind of the implications of, you know, the loss of him to this franchise, like it actually probably makes sense to maybe keep Black Panther male or maybe move it to female, but not to have T'Challa in it anymore.
The continuity, well, I mean, the continuity also makes it a problem too. The Joker, you know, Heath Ledger dies, and they can recast, but they have to do it years later because it's not the same franchise anymore. This will always be the same universe, so they have to come up with their own way of doing it. I honestly think that maybe Okoye would have been the better choice to play Black Panther, because she's the actual head of the Dora Milaje, if I remember. So like she actually makes more sense as like the warrior type than his sister. But we'll see.
But it's like, why isn't that good enough in and of itself that they have this warrior class of women?
Yeah.
Why does it have to be Black Panther? Yep. It just seems like posturing at that point.
It'll be interesting to see where it goes. And this is one of those weird situations where I actually don't feel like there's a bad option. So to you, what is a character that is iconic to you, played by one person, and how do you feel about them being replaced? Thank you. Thank you so much.
Fun. Look at these lights. I also feel like my shirt kind of matches.
It does. It does.
I'm not into franchises. I'm into one-off films that are standalone. So I can't
so much.
I can't say that I am invested.
What I would say is to that, and I agree with you completely. You know, I'm anti-sequels on pretty much every ground. A Knight's Tale, which is one of my favorite movies ever.
Heath Ledger.
Has Heath Ledger. Heath Ledger died. I would never, number one, want to remake, even if Heath Ledger was alive. It's gold. Leave it alone. And also, like, there are multiple characters in that movie who were portrayed so well that I think if you had to recast them, it would be terrible. Mm-hmm. That's the closest I can get, like a remake of a one-off movie that I like.
The only like franchise of sequels that I would support is Twilight, and when they recasted one of their main villains, Victoria, I hated that.
And technically, Harry Potter did this way back in the day with Albus Dumbledore's character. I can't remember the original actor's name.
He died in the first one.
After the first one, or the second one, and so we got the majority with the other Albus Dumbledore, who actually played him. I can't remember. That's your job, Brett. You know all the actors, but he actually played him very differently, much more loud and dramatic, and that's actually very different from the books. Mm-hmm. So that was an interesting choice too. We do see this happen. I just think that like it makes sense to retire this character for a number of reasons. But now that I have come to this conclusion, primarily because you don't want to be the actor who has to follow up Chadwick Boseman in the same character role.
Especially when Marvel and society has given it the level of importance that they claim that it has. They recasted. You just
can't win even if you do a good job.
Yeah, they recasted. I was more upset. I was more upset over the casting of Mahershala Ali as Blade, because I love the original Blade. And as far as I'm concerned, don't recast Wesley Snipes. Just bring Wesley Snipes. Bring old Wesley Snipes back and give me old man Blade. And it will still be the coolest thing ever, because Wesley Snipes has a unique type of charisma Mahershala Ali is a fantastic actor and has his own type of charisma, but it's not the same thing, right? So,
are you guys like so excited for the marketing around Black Panther 2 to pit the audience against the movie, saying that if you don't like Letitia Wright in Black Panther,
I don't think they're going to do that.
That the movie isn't for you?
That would be hilarious if they did that.
Are you excited?
They're like, take that, you incels. That's they'll do.
I want the incels to be like, what? We didn't even do anything.
I think Tariq Nasheed would have a lot of interesting opinions about this.
Yeah, I'm sure.
For sure.
I have no doubt. Thanks for watching this clip, guys. If you want to see full episodes or follow us on social media, links are in the description below. Bye.